So this episode, I'm interviewing a brilliant couple. They're business partners, not life partners. They've got their own life partners. And we are talking about these special boxes that they're creating and how they build brilliant relationships. So I want you to stay on till the very end of this, because there's going to be a video of me and Matt opening the box that they sent us. So stay tuned to the very end. So you're going to listen to the whole process of what they've gone through. It's absolutely amazing. And then at the end, you can see me and Matt opening one of their special boxes.
Welcome to the Drama Dialogues, Life and Relationships Unravelled. I'm Jenny and I'm here to empower you on an exhilarating journey. Together we'll navigate the twists and turns of everyday dramas with practical tips and engaging stories so you can have a powerful day every day. Get ready to embrace healthier relationships, effective communication and personal growth. Join me as we unravel the mysteries of life's dramas and share a few laughs along the way. Get ready to ditch the chaos and embrace the magic. This is the Drama Dialogues. Hello everybody and welcome to the latest episode of the Drama Dialogues. It's been a while since I've done a Drama Dialogues with an interview, so this was really exciting. And sometimes people contact me and they say, oh, I'd love to come on your podcast. And you guys were one of those people. And as soon as I saw what you did, it totally in alignment with everything I believe in, I love. I was so excited to talk to you. So Connie and Arnau, welcome to the Drama Dialogues podcast. I had to think then, because I've got two. I was like, oh, which one am I on today? The Drama Dialogues. So it's lovely to have you here.
Thank you so much. It's actually fantastic to be here.
Yes, thank you for having us. We're super excited.
So the thing that got me most excited about this, it's all to do with relationships. And building relationships and deepening relationships. And it all starts with a spark. Now, something that you may not know about me is that I talk a lot with my clients about the spark and how the spark is anxiety. So we don't look for a spark at the start of a relationship. We look for those kind of boring starts for relationships where you think, oh, I really like the way they look. I really get on with them. And you know, all those people that have oh, there was no spark, so I'm not going to continue the relationship. The spark is for later. If you have the spark at the beginning, you're relating it to some kind of anxiety that you've had in the past. Maybe, you know, when people say, oh, I keep dating people that are like my dad or like my ex, and it's because they've got that spark, and that's the anxiety. So you have an amazing thing where you get into these brilliant relationships, but the spark is maybe not getting there yet. And your business is called 12 Sparks. And I want you to tell the audience all about what 12 Sparks is and why I'm so excited about it.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I'm going to go first, but I love what you're saying, right? Because actually it's so true that many relationships focus on that excitement in the beginning. That's what people look in their partners in the very beginning. But we don't think so much about what's going to make the relationship last, right? The work that we need to do, the magic that needs to keep happening over a year, over 5 years, over a decade. And one of the things that we realize, maybe a bit of background, right? I used to work at Durex in the innovation side globally. So we're trying to understand constantly the different markets worldwide, right? How different people understand love and excitement and sensuality. And what we realize is that it's so difficult these days to stay connected, right? If you look at any statistic worldwide, what we're seeing is that things are very difficult for the world, and technology is not making that actually easier. It requires a lot of work to actually keep staying connected, keep working on our relationship and growing together. And what we came up is with a way to try to make that a bit easier and in a way more fun, right? We came up with this basically amazing date at home that our couples basically get to experiment once a month, and that helps them to work on a key pillar of their relationships, whether it's like honesty, communication, or something a bit more spicy, but in a way that is constructed and fun, following the most scientific guidelines. So yeah, super exciting to try to contribute a bit to helping people have better relationships.
And Arno, you have just said that you worked in Durex and
Mhm.
they did a lot of relationship research in your time there. What were you finding from that research? What was coming out of it?
Yeah, the main thing is that although people really tries to stay connected, right? If you ask anybody worldwide, the objectives will be always the same. It's always going to be about finding a partner for life, somebody who we can connect emotionally, but also physically. But whether that people actually achieves that, it's not so clear. What we're seeing is that year over year, things like the divorce rate, for example, right? Mental well-being are not going in the right direction. And if we look at countries in Europe and America in particular, it's where things are not looking the greatest. The reasons for that, well, I'm sure that you have a lot of ideas about that. And I know that in this podcast you have covered some of them, but it's not easy to actually work on them. There's like so many psychological things that prevent people to actually engage in those difficult conversations and putting the effort. So yeah, that would be it in a second.
Connie, what made you want to join this mission?
Yes, good question. So for me, my interest in relationships sparked from my own personal experience. I was in like most people at some point in their life, I was in a bad relationship. And while I was in that relationship, I was like, there are solutions, and that's my personality. Like we can go out and find information and figure out what to do here. And I did that. And then I was like, oh, there's a lot of information out there. I was overwhelmed because I realized how ignorant I was. And like most people, I just thought you get into a relationship and then that was it. It just everything just worked. And so through this journey, I started researching and became very interested in this space. And I was actually I said, I'm pretty determined personally to get information, apply that information, and be successful in this area in my life. And I always say to people, we could put man on on Mars, on the moon, and we can't figure this out. I refuse to believe that. And that was my kind of foray into the space. And when I met Arnaud and heard what he was doing with 12 Sparks, I was like, yes, this is a worthwhile mission to have, and we really want to help people all over the world work on the most important thing in their life is their well-being and their relationship well-being.
Yeah. And as you say, you can go down a rabbit hole and find millions of different points of view and research and tools. When you started looking, what was the first thing that you found that sort of went, oh, why did I not know that before now?
Well, there's a lot of different things, but I would say the thing that I found that I've taken forward, because there's some things that I read where I was like, okay, this is perhaps not so relevant to me now, is that being, in a relationship, showing love and being in love is I don't want to say a job, but it's a role that you have to play, and it's not something that you fall into the way that you look at it, you hear about it on TV, and then kind of just stay there. And I think that the learning around how to show love and be in love in a healthy way. I didn't really know what that was. I had no idea. I didn't know that it was a thing. And I have, it's interesting because it's very much related to what we're doing at 12 Sparks around how people invest in their relationship. And, I was having a conversation with someone a few years ago and they were talking about this with me and they said, we invest in our career, we invest in our children, we invest in our goals, and we somehow forget to invest in our relationship. And so staying in love and being in love and having a healthy relationship requires investment. And that seems obvious, but I did not know.
Well, it is obvious, but I think where people get stuck is they think it's not romantic
Mhm.
because love to me, the conversation that me and Matt, my partner, had at the beginning was that love is a decision that you make every day. It's not
Mhm.
really an emotion and a feeling, it's an action, it's a decision, it's a behavior. And you wake up every morning and they might have really pissed you off the day before, but you decide to get up that morning and do something about it. Or have it's not about a feeling. It's not about always having that spark. It's not about always having those brilliant days every single day. It's about waking up every morning going, right, what can we do today to make this either a better relationship or maintain what we've got? And so I think that's a really good point. I mean, for me, attachment styles was like one of the things where I went, why do we not teach kids this? They need
Exactly.
to know this stuff.
There's so many frameworks, if you think about it, that people just doesn't know about. And of course, different frameworks work for different people. Like, for example, the five love languages, right? It's a great way to understand how people perceive love, but also how they give love, right? Because people only understand half of it typically, right? But there's so many of them that I completely agree with you. We should be taught about them in the very beginning instead of like being basically stumbling with every single stone at every single step of the way until you somehow figure it out
Right.
that actually, oh yeah, that's the way that I would love to be loved and that I
Right.
show it love.
If you figure it out.
Exactly.
Exactly, Connie. That was one of the things I was just going to say. So many people do not figure this stuff out and they just stay stuck in relationships that they feel unfulfilled, unsupported, because it's easier just to stay in that than to find something different or to try. And one of the things we talked about, Connie, originally was if like you went down this research path because you're a bit like me. You're an action taker, you're a fixer. You go, right, here's a problem. How do I solve it? How can I find all the things? And your
Right.
partner was a bit like, well, no, I don't really want to do that.
Right. Right.
How does 12 Sparks address that?
Yeah, so what kind of I guess Arnaud will probably validate this from his time at Durex, but most of the studies show that relationship information and education is sought for by women typically, because again, we're like nurturers and relationships are kind of core to who we are. And what happens is that when we go and seek these solutions, whether it's a self-help book or if it's a coaching class or if it's a therapist, we seek these solutions and then we end up having to go back and tell our partners, usually the men, about what we've learned. And they are naturally like, no. And in my case, he was like, oh, that's absolute. Like, oh, where did you read that? That doesn't apply to me. That's absolute nonsense. And whatever your partner is, it may have a different response, guys, but I'm just speaking from my own experience. And it was kind of me having to show that what I read applied. And that I wasn't suggesting it from a kind of high horse of I knew better, or I was blaming or pointing fingers, because naturally when you say something's wrong and you read that someone should or should not do something, they feel defensive. And that's, perhaps a natural state of mind for a lot of people, not just men. But the great thing about 12 Sparks is that it's not prescriptive. You are not telling someone, I read that we should do this or we should do that. It's doing something together where you can uncover your own solutions and learn about each other at the same time. And it's synchronous. So it's not happening separately, it's happening together. And the idea is that by doing that, you create good memories, you work on things in your relationship, and ultimately you bond. So that's one of the unique things about 12 Sparks. Do you have anything to add on that?
No, I love exactly what you're saying, right? It's like instead of like somebody proposing something and the natural reaction becoming defensive,
right?
We are going to discover step by step what is this perfect night that is ahead of us. And we don't even need to decide. We don't even need to like propose to each other things that we might feel uncomfortable proposing, right? Whether it's like some exercises and questions to get to know each other better, or whether it's something a bit more spicy that both of actually want to try, but nobody dares to actually vocalize.
Right.
We don't need to do that. We eliminate with 12 Sparks the necessity to get into that. We just like uncover the box, and step number 2 happens to be exactly what we both wanted to try. And we just follow it because it's both of us against the box as a team.
Exactly, not against each other.
So I love that. 2 of us against the box. So there are subscription dating boxes out there on the market. How is 12 Sparks different to those?
Yeah, I mean, that's a fantastic question, right? What you will see is that most subscription boxes are a one-off, right? You're going to see something typically very sexual, to be honest, like almost like costumes, etc., for a one night. We are completely different. The first way is that we are a journey, right? We believe that in order to grow together as a couple, a one-off, it's not going to change. It's not going to move the needle. So we have created a yearly journey that you can join only for one step, but really if you go month by month, touching different topics, again, some of more connected about sensuality, emotions, physicality, you're going to get to discover yourself and your partner and grow together in a much more complete way. The second is that we have elevated the experience a lot, to be honest. You're gonna see like reds and something that you would be ashamed to show to your friends. This is an experience that looks and feels fantastic because we recognize that when you create a memory, it needs to be the right one. So we really try to offer a fantastic experience to our couples. And I think that the third one is that when you look at the different tools and solutions for couples at the moment, they either fall on the very spicy side or in the very almost scientific one, right? Almost boring, like a book or maybe even therapies. We have tried to do something that combines both sides, that it's both educational, but it's fun and almost wellness. And that basically allows us to make our couples want to come back, right? That even if part of the couple was not so convinced about getting into this whole topic, actually they have so much fun that next month they're looking up for it. And that's what we're told.
So you're Spanish, and have you looked at the difference between like a Spanish audience and a British audience? Because I imagine they're quite different.
Yes, indeed, and we can be quite controversial in this topic, but it's actually very fun, right? Because the differences are massive, even with countries that you would assume that are very similar, like France and Spain, maybe, right? Or France and Italy. Between the U and another point that is very interesting is that Spain is quite homogeneous, right? Believe it or not, people kind of share a cultural background much more than in the UK, where traditional immigration has come from different parts of the world and created different realities. So that's a big point. But in the UK, it's true that, for example, people is extremely open with their sexuality, but always within their own micro community. So in Spain, for example, people will comment loud in the middle of a bar about the craziest latest thing that they tried to their friends. Whereas in the UK, people will definitely not do that. And even will struggle to do that in the intimacy in their houses with a glass of wine when nobody can share, listens to them. So I think that communication and how open are about what we want to try or are afraid of or like are excited to discover, it's one of the main components that separates these two countries.
So how do you decide what goes in the box? And do you both agree, or is it you two who decides? Who decides? Do you agree on it? Tell me the gossip about what's in the box.
Well, I mean, so Arno mostly looks after, we actually share this area, but he works a lot on thinking about the goals of the box, you know? So what are we trying to help people achieve? What are we trying to, where are we trying to get them? Because as we talked about, a lot of the work around what we do is science-led. So we use techniques that are taken from relationship science and psychosexual therapy to help people work on issues that help improve their emotional and physical intimacy. So there's a lot of kind of science-based things when we use boxes. And then we look at what's going to be, how long it's going to take. We work out some kind of mechanics, and then we say, okay, right, are we both happy with that? And if we are, we then go and use it and see how we really feel about it. And then with, if there's any feedback, we kind of talk about the feedback. And as you know, with anything, there's always going to be a difference in perspective. But one of the great things about this is that you have a male and you have a female, right? So it's not centered just on one gender. It's important that both people's feelings and their needs are heard and factored into our products. And I don't know, anything else to add?
I'm going to give you a bit more of credit, honestly,
yeah.
because I think that it's true that one of the big things that we work out was which are the pillars that we're going to work, right, with, what boxes focus on. But another very important part is the flow of energy within the night, right? How you design that perfect experience over 2, 3, 4 hours for the couple to basically get to where they need to be. Because we need to recognize, right, that people get into a Friday evening with very different levels of energy. If you had a crazy week at work, where you just came from a fantastic gym session, whether somebody has been taking care of the kids nonstop and the other one has been quite more relaxing, it's not easy to get into the date night at the same level. So what Connie, like the real magic she does, is manage that energy level. She's always like perfect at how are we going to start so everybody comes to the same level. How are they then slowly raise the intensity of the night in whatever topic we're doing to just ensure that people is walking that path together and the experience is fantastic, right? So I think you should give yourself some credit there.
Thank you.
And you've both got your partners. How enthusiastic or not are they about this mission? Do they get the boxes home and go, yay, it's box night?
Oh yeah, so that's like my partner, he loves this. He's so I mean, I'm so surprised about how he's like, this is great. I love what you guys are doing. I bring home all my work problems and all of my queries. I'm like, what do you think about this? What about this box? And he's very busy. So I think that we make up what we would consider the average couple that is quite time poor. And even though we put in the effort, we know that like everybody else, we can succumb to prioritizing other things and then forget about the relationship. So this is a good way for us to stay on top of it, because it's my job to stay on top of it at home and outside of the home. So that's really good. And he's a big supporter of this. And I always get his feedback, and I'm going to continue getting his feedback. In fact, he wants to listen to the podcast, and I told him no. I'm like, no, do not.
He has to listen to the podcast.
Oh, no, I'm really joking. My partner has been extremely supportive as well. And I typically joke, right? Because there's this saying that most startups start in a garage, right? 1,000 examples of that, like the Apples and the Googles and the Microsofts. But the reality is that in central London, there's not a lot of garages to start from. And my partner has been extremely understanding that our flat constantly looks like a warehouse, basically, with 1,000 samples of like 1,000 different products that our neighbors probably are raising their eyebrows all the time as we test and perfect and ensure that everything feels exactly the way we want to feel it, right? So honestly, super grateful about her accepting our mess as we develop new theme boxes for our patients and clients, and how understanding she has been.
And do you have a load of Durex products in there?
I don't know if I can reveal it, but definitely we have some. Only the best, of course. No, the reality is that we have tried to be super selective about our products, right? And that means that, yes, we put premium brands, for example, things like massage oils, right? In one of our boxes, you're going to have actually 3 massage oils coming for a single experience. And that's because we want our clients to be able to create a true spa home experience. And that doesn't mean, oh, you get this and you have to use it. It means that when you're going to receive your partner to offer that amazing spa experience, you're going to start by offering them which scent they want to choose. So yes, we definitely have a lot of brands. Some of them are Durex, not all of them. But we are super happy about what we're delivering.
So when you go to get a box, you choose a theme, and then you get that theme across the year. That's correct, isn't it?
It's not just a theme, it's a particular, so there's kind of relationship issues. So communication could be one, it could be kind of honesty, trust, it could be more kind of sensual, so physical intimacy. And although we are still in box development, so there's a lot of more things to come. Once you work on a particular theme, you can move on to a next topic. So they're journeys, but they're a journey that covers every other thing as well, because we know from research that relationships are complex and complicated and typically require a lot of work on different areas. So we always want people to do every single step, if possible. But yes, it's not, you don't just pick one particular area and get to sit on that. You get to move around, which is good for both people in a relationship, because usually you might think, oh, I want to do communication and somebody else wants to do something else, right? So it allows you that versatility.
I think I'm going to reveal a little secret.
You are? Okay.
I probably should ask permission before. It's fine. That's free. This is an exclusive.
We're all friends here. Nobody's listening.
I don't think that we ever explained before how that works exactly. But the way it works is very easy, right? We allow couples to start the journey wherever they feel like, right? Whether it's with a romance focus box, or whether it's a spicy box, or whether it's whatever it is. Whatever they feel comfortable, that it's going to feel amazing. But after every box, actually, the last step is we actually ask the couples whether they like it, whether they like the experience, they like the topic, whether they felt that they were growing together, or actually this was not for us. And based on that, we have an algorithm that recommends the next box, and then the next box. So even if you and me start at exactly the same point, chances are that by box number 3, you're going to be receiving something focused on, I don't know, role playing, right? Let's discover the art of role playing. And I might be actually doing a lot of journaling, which is a very interesting conversation when we have our glass of wine later on and be like, hey, how was your last box? And it's a completely different experience. And that's why. It's because we adjust that intimacy journey for every couple based on what is going to be the best for them.
Awesome. I love that. So each box has a theme, but they're not necessarily across the 12 months. That it's just that they'll have all the confidence and the communication and all those things, but each one has a theme, but you don't necessarily get it in the order
Exactly.
in a particular strict order. Oh, I love that. Well, that makes it even more exciting, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's super important if you think about it, because every couple is in a different place. Even if you think that, me and Connie might be in the exact same place in our relationships, chances are that we are not, because we all come with our baggages and our partners as well, and experiences. So having that adjustability, right? Like that personalization is what guarantees that it feels great at every point of the way.
Yeah.
I know 12 Sparks is very early in the journey, but have you had customer feedback yet?
Yeah, we had tons. In general, people loves it, to be honest. Our NPS, or Net Promoted Score, is over the roof. We're seeing that when people tries one box, actually, they typically want the next box in a week. And our whole job is to try to hold them and be like, no, this is designed to do it once a month, right? Like the whole point is that you're going to work on this for a while, and it's going to be that special night that you have every month. But yes, so we're people is loving it, to be honest. We're taking a lot of feedback on what should be the new themes of boxes. And we do
Yep.
have a plan, but if any of the people listening this has any ideas, please send them our way, right? And we will try to create something very special, collaborating with one of our experts as well, on any topic that is of interest.
Absolutely. And we will put your all your details in the show notes. So for contacting you. So yeah, if anybody's got any great ideas for themes or struggles that they're having in relationships as well, bring them all, because I'm sure it's great research for you guys. It's great information.
Yeah.
So what challenges did you face? Because I know that like starting up any business is hard, but subscription boxes can be particularly hard. And what challenges do you face in that setup period?
Well, so I think specifically with 12 Sparks, what we found is that our boxes require couples to take some time for their relationship. And I don't think a lot of people are accustomed to doing that. When you speak to people, they're like, they don't have time, they have small kids, they have a job, they have their own parents, or whatever kind of circumstance they're in. And relationship can sometimes take the back seat. And so even though their intentions are good, they aren't usually following up with their intentions. And what happens is that even though the idea sounds sound, and 12 Sparks is great, they're not really able to invest the time to make that a reality and to actually put the time in their relationship. So intentions are good, behaviors are not necessarily as good or as consistent. So that's something that we found, is that we're having to kind of work. This is our kind of greatest kind of, let's say, obstacle, but challenge in relationships. And that makes sense, right? Because that's why they're falling apart. So we know that, and we know that that's going to be a big challenge. And so for us, it's about finding ways to fit our product into modern day life, but also educating people around the importance of actually investing in the relationship or breaking routine. Because it's easy to do routine, right? Routine is just kind of like you're on autopilot, and it's much more of a shift to do something different and invest in something different, but then you get a different result, which is ultimately what we want and what people want. So that's what I would say. I don't know if I now had any other.
Well, I would say that, to be honest, although we have many topics that are focused on emotional well-being, relationship wellness, etc., part of that can be spicy, and that makes it very fun when you're on it with your couple. But when you're trying to communicate that to get the word out, it's not so easy, right? We face so many restrictions in terms of online communication, for example, right? Where you need to be extremely careful to not share too much of that angle, or you're going to face severe restrictions. So I think that that's a challenge, to be honest. And speaking with other people in the industry, even in the relationship industry, I think that we are all facing the same. It didn't exist before, but I think that in the last 5 to 10 years, the platforms have become extremely strict on restricting that content and being just a bit too cautious sometimes. So that's something that definitely we're working on, and hopefully it's going to get better as our brand grows and more people understand what we're doing.
Right.
Yeah. So what is your favorite platform to put the word out there on? Is it like TikTok or Instagram or like
I think it
Where are
would
you
be
doing?
Instagram at the moment, no?
Yeah, it would be Instagram. We were just talking about this, and I think Instagram is great because it's a visual platform, and very recently they started allowing kind of people to post from multiple accounts, which I think really lends itself to couples and sharing together as a team versus one person sharing separately. So Instagram is really good for that. We also think that it allows us to kind of spread the word out in a more curated way than, for example, other platforms. But yeah, and we're also kind of, entertaining and trying new platforms like TikTok, which has its own kind of appeal. But yeah, I think Instagram is our top choice.
Face-to-face also works fantastically, right? I think that we're engaging constantly with therapies and conventions and wedding planners, by the way, because we have a box specialized that is coming now on We Just Got Married, and it's about that first night and how to make the honeymoon even better. So one of the magics of 12 Sparks is that because it looks so great, because we have curated the design and the products and all that stuff so much, when people see it, I think it's quite to be impressed. I remember, Connie, the first time that you got a box and you were like, wow, this is heavy.
Yeah.
But this is actually so heavy.
Yes.
So yeah, it works very well, to be honest.
Yes.
So it's really interesting because a lot of what you've talked about is really the challenges of getting the message out. But I imagine there must have been operational challenges about posting out very heavy boxes.
Yes, that's true, to be honest. And maybe it's the flip side of the coin, right? We have actually platforms these days that allow us to standardize that quite a lot. For example, for anybody who is trying to get into the startup world now, any similar type of business, I would recommend to look into Amazon Supply. You don't need to sell through Amazon, but Amazon allows now startups to distribute through their normal channels. And that allows the costs, the times that you can deliver, the quality of the deliver to be so high, right? We, of course, have to tweak some things, but we now can ensure that in 2 or 3 days of posting the order, and almost anywhere in Europe, we can deliver a box that is going to be fantastic. And you know that if you're buying that for your partner, you're preparing that special date, and you didn't know what to do, you didn't want it to go to another, dinner somewhere, it's going to be there and ready to use. So actually, it's great, and I think that it's an improvement.
Yeah. And I mean, this really is a product for people, I guess, that are more in secure relationships where they want to reignite something. But I wonder how it would work in earlier on dating, because that's when everything is already kind of exciting because you've got the excitement of not really knowing each other. But I do think that people are now dating in a completely different way to what they used to, and everything's so fast or surface level.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody always laughs when we talk a lot about me and Matt meeting and me asking him 30 dating questions. I must send you those actually. You can have a look.
Please do. Please do.
Yeah.
I think that's really unusual is to have those deep kind of dates. But do you think, can you see a collaboration with like online dating platform type arenas?
Well, from my perspective, I don't know necessarily about what the direction would take with dating platforms. But what I will say is that good habits in a relationship are best started initially. So one of the things that we know is that from our friends at Gottman is that the biggest issue in relationships is negative patterns. Once you start them and they go, and one person does something negative or toxic, the other person copies, and then you're in a kind of race to the bottom. And so if we reverse engineer that, then we know that we can start a relationship with really healthy and positive patterns, and it's easier to continue. In fact, you're engineered and likely to continue because you've started them already, and they're easier to replicate because you know what they are. So I think a lot of people, what happens is that they perhaps go through this dating, and it's Arnau will say it's fueled by hormones, and therefore it's easy. And then when the chemicals disappear, then you're like, oh, now you have no tools. But if you start with the tools and some of the chemicals, that's all well and good, right? The chemicals go, you have the tools, and now you have the right information to continue a healthy relationship. So I think, if anything, I would argue that it's probably as important in the beginning as it is in the middle and in the end.
Actually, when you look at who is using our boxes, right, we did expect that the majority of the people would be long-term relationships, right? As you were saying, people who has been like 5, 10, 15 years there and need to recover that spark. But there was this crazy statistic that we read, which says that people just try new things in their relationships during the first 5 months. Not even a year, 5 months. That's the time that people spend rediscovering each other, learning and growing. And after that, it's kind of set. So I think you're completely correct, Connie. Like, we need actually to basically help people grow together, get the habits in the beginning, so then they have like that pipeline to go ahead.
Right. And then their routines that are set are good ones.
Yeah, I agree. In out of interest, it is the drama dialogue, so we like to talk about our private lives too. How did you meet your wife, Arno?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
How did you meet your wife?
Oh yeah, actually it was easy. Basically we were studying together. And it was so funny because for the longest time, basically, we were like kind of secretive about that because we were in school and everybody's gossiping all the time, and you don't want to be that couple that everybody knows about. So for the longest time we were kind of secret. And then I went away. I basically moved to a different campus for a few months. And when I came back, we started to date full on. It was like from 0 to 100. Like we literally moved together and we have been living together since. And everyone was so surprised. Everyone was like, wait, what? How did that happen? These guys were not even friends. But that was super funny. And the reality is that we have been one of the couples that came out of like that studying environment that have actually managed to stay together. So super happy and super grateful.
And is she from London? Did you meet her in London? Where were you at school
No,
together?
she's actually from Singapore, which is very interesting because we could spend hours speaking about the difference of intimacy and relationships between the East and the West and the North and the South. But it's something that has helped me a lot, to be honest, to grow as a person. And we could speak about new types of food, but also everything else that comes in relationships and how you have to adapt, right? I think that you were mentioning before about that spark in the beginning and the spark at the end. That resonated so much with me, right? Because I think that ensuring from the very beginning that you have that understanding that you know that you will have to work every day to adapt to how you're growing, but also how your partner is growing, is what makes a relationship last. And if you don't have that capacity to chat, to adapt, to hear what the other person needs and how that changes, you're kind of condemned from the beginning. So you just need to go in with an open heart.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I love that. I was just having breakfast with my friend who lives in Singapore yesterday morning. She's over for a
Oh,
visit. It's
oh,
somewhere I've
it's a
always
lovely
wanted to
country.
go. Yeah, yeah. And how about you, Connie? How did you meet your partner?
Yes, it was less of a structured event, I would say, than Arno. But I actually, ironically, I was going for drinks with someone who I did not know via Bumble Friends. I come back to the UK from having been away for a while, and I was like, I'm just interested in socializing, and I'm just going to use this friend app to meet some new people in London. And so I went on the app, I went for drinks, and this funny story is that his friend was trying to pick up the lady who I was speaking to, and we were both like, oh God, now I have to talk to you, you have to talk to me. And we didn't really do that well at hiding his invitation. And then we started chatting, and then he talked about some work things, and I was very interested in his role and working with some technology, and we had a bit of a kind of spark in that moment, not a anxiety spark, an intellectual spark, if you'd say. And
Yeah.
I was like, oh, it was a nice chat. I didn't really plan on doing anything about the chat. I just was like, that's a nice chat. And he was like, oh, let's get your information. And I was like, huh, okay. And so the rest was history. So it was just a chance meeting in London when I went to meet somebody else to make friends. And she actually was the one that was the pull for him and his friend, not me. So yeah, it was completely organic. And I know that a lot of people don't have that story anymore.
Did they end up together as well?
They never saw each other again.
I cannot believe this.
And did you stay friends with her friend? Did you stay friends with
I didn't really know her. I actually just went on an app and I met her and we were like, let's have drinks to get to know each other. And then we didn't stay in contact. But then I had met
Well, I mean, at least you got something really amazing out of it.
It was, and it's so weird, isn't it? Like everybody else got nothing. Me and him, who didn't want anything, got something. That's the way it goes, isn't it?
Serendipity.
I love that. And you're so right about that. It wasn't, so that's not what I would call a spark as such. It's you had an interest. You were curious about each other and you took that step to keep finding out. And I think that's where people get so dating so badly wrong, is that they go in with this, oh, I want to find my person and we're going to be married, and just go into dating with curiosity and
Right.
be interested in people. And if you are interested and you have that intellectual spark, that's a completely different thing to the want to rip their clothes off immediately type spark.
Right. But just to add on, it's interesting because the modern apps aren't really designed for you to be curious. They're objective design, right? Aren't they? Are you this, that, and tick?
Yeah. We were just speaking about that like literally a second ago, actually. It was so interesting. But yeah, it's true that modern dating world has, first of all, immediacy is the name of the game, right? Like people is gonna push for like now, 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 now. And if you don't fulfill my whole list at any point in time, the perception of availability is so big that I'm just gonna go to the next thing. And you forgot that maybe like things that are gonna matter later on is not the things that matter in the beginning.
Right.
Right. But the other thing I think is super important to keep pushing is to just have conversations, right? People focuses so much on like the job and the looks and et cetera, et cetera. And that is important. For so many people, it's important. But when you look at what are the factors that actually predict a successful relationship, it has nothing to do with that.
Right.
It really has to do with like shared values, common life plans, right? The capability to adapt that we were mentioning before. So I really try to push my friends all the time, who some of them are in the single stage and like looking to get a partner, to like look for those things in the very beginning.
Right.
Instead of like the more superficial ones that are easy to see, but not so important down the line.
Right. And it's so interesting, she said, is that like, it's almost like when you're looking for someone, that's all you start thinking about, is what you're looking for, as opposed to just being curious and have conversations, learn about people, be interested
And I
in
do,
them.
and I think it is really important to know what you're looking for in terms of values, beliefs, future goals, those things, not height, hair color, job, all of that stuff just actually doesn't make any difference. If your values and your goals and your beliefs don't align, then they are the big things. And so everybody that I know that has come fed back to me about asking the questions that I asked Matt, because I talk about them a lot, and they come back going, "Oh, I met my person," and we'll have just had like an hour's call or something, and it's happened loads of times. And one girl messaged me, and on her list originally was that, oh, he's got to be really tall, 6 foot, blah blah blah. I was like, but you're not even 5 foot. You're tiny. Why do you need somebody who's 6 foot to be taller than you? And
Right.
2 months later, she was like, I've met somebody and he's 5'8" and he's amazing.
Right.
And I think so many women get tied up with this 6 foot figure, and they're not anywhere near 6 foot. So they can still have the height difference if they want the height difference, but be
Right.
realistic. I
Right.
once read a post where somebody had said they wanted a woman who was like 5'11" and weighed whatever amount the weight was. And I was like, that is literally impossible. It's almost impossible to be that height and that weight. It just doesn't add up. And people just go into these metrics of, well, that's what I'm looking for. But
Right.
Matt said one of the things that stood out about my profile was how long it was, which meant that loads of men didn't bother to read it, which was great for me because I wanted somebody who was curious and interested in reading it.
Nice.
Right. Well, that's a really good tactic to use for people who are listening, who are kind of looking, is write a lot about yourself and the things that you believe in, and your values, and someone who's interested in those things will eventually click and talk to you. And just, and actually Arnaud and I were talking about this today, and that's why he was saying it, is because I was talking about a friend of mine. And if you write a long profile and you talk about your values and things, just also remember to focus on that when you're talking to people, because then you have friends that come back from a date and then they don't really come back with much data other than height, job,
Exactly.
all these things, and you're like, but all of those values and shared things that you're talking about, but were you looking out for them? They're like, and it's just completely like,
I love what you said about having dates that are different, right? I think that you had that insight, Connie, but basically, like, if you look at the modern dating world, what do? Right? We go to like a fancy restaurant, or we go to like, there's a set thing of expectations, but But I think they were saying that one of the most meaningful dates that you can have is just a walk in the park for the longest time, discovering each other, right? Now, the funny thing is that when you come back and then you tell your friends, what did you do? That doesn't sound that exciting.
No.
Oh, we went to the park and we chat. And people is going to react like, oh, so no, that was it. It was amazing.
Right.
But it doesn't seem amazing when you explain about it. But it's that you where you truly discover who you're engaging with, right? Like whether that person is the person that is gonna be with you the rest of your life.
Right. Exactly.
I love it.
Exactly.
Well, mine and Matt had to have our first dates were all socially distanced walks because it was between COVID lockdowns. So
Right.
Really?
it was November, raincoat, walking boots, 2 meters apart, asking 30 questions.
Love it.
Our first meal out was, so we met in November. Our first meal out was in May because that was the first time we were legally allowed to eat in a restaurant.
Wow.
Things are very different.
Did you manage to stay 30 feet away during the whole chat? Or did you actually kind of
2 meters? Yeah, we were pretty strict. Like the
Okay,
first,
good job.
yeah. And I mean, we did technically break some of the COVID rules fairly quickly, but it was very much a case of you live on your own and you don't go anywhere. I lived with my girls, we didn't go anywhere. So it was a very measured kind of conversation. And then when bubbles came around quite quickly after that, we decided to bubble. And I could have bubbled with my parents. And of course, my dad was there going, "You've met somebody online and you bubbling with them? Like, what the hell is this madness?" He was so cross. And then I think Matt met my parents on, I think, our third or fourth date, which was walking, because we randomly bumped in, like not bumped in because it was COVID, so we weren't going near anybody, but we randomly walked past them at a few meters apart and said hi. So by the time he met them properly to meet the parents, he'd already bumped into them on a walk about 5 times.
That's so good, actually. How long did it take for your partner to meet your parents?
Oh, well, a while. Because I had this rule of never introducing anyone to my parents till I was like really sure that I wanted to take it to the next step with them. I just couldn't brave the kind of revolving door situation and then having to re-explain every time something didn't happen. So it was quite a bit of time. But for him, actually, it was a bit different because I think I met his parents, I don't know if I would say early on, maybe like in the 6th month mark, maybe. And yeah, it was very easy. We actually have a lot in common. So me and his mum have a lot in common as well. In fact, I joke around and say we're the same person. I'm just like a younger version. And I learned so much from her. So it was really good. But yeah, I know that is, I'm Nigerian. So in fact, I have friends who just introduced their partner to their parents when they were engaged. And I thought perhaps that was a bit too extreme.
Wow.
But it's good. There's something there's something there around your parents having some kind of interaction before that kind of thing happens, and then they can give you they can look at your blind spots perhaps, right? So that's quite very different from the position I ended up wanting to take. But I know that some people are in several relationships over the course of their life, and every single person meets their parents. So I'm like, the poor parents get attached to this person, they get yanked away and then get reattached, and yeah, I just feel like it's an emotional roller coaster for everybody. And I would rather not.
You know that my grandmother actually forbid any cousins from bringing new boyfriends or girlfriends to the family dinners. So a bit of context, right? But I come from a really big family, right? Spanish families. I think my mom had 7 siblings, 30 cousins, big family dinners every single Saturday. But at some point, everybody became a teenager, and we would love to bring like the partners as a family thing and introduce them, etc., etc. Now, the thing is that there was a lot of rotation. When you have 30 people bringing their partners, every single dinner, there's a new person. And that's kind of statistics almost when they are teenagers. So I think that after like 3-4 years where nobody could remember the names of anybody, my grandmother, who was a very smart and indulgent woman, but was 85 at the time, said, guys, a small announcement, almost like a gravitas type of woman. From now on, you need to date 6 months before anybody can, cross that door. And after 6 months, they're welcome and they are family and we're gonna give them as much food and drinks as they want. But for my sake of mine, please 6 months before like you bring them to us. Because this is
I
like
love that.
I cannot manage the whole. There's like 3 marks at any point in time, and I don't know who is who. It's,
That's so crazy.
it's absolutely
That-
true. It was fantastic.
That's brilliant. I really love that. It was a while before I met Matt's dad. It was a while before he told him about me. And I was starting to get really kind of a bit like, what's going on? Why aren't you telling your dad about me when you're going there on a holiday? And he's like, I've had so many bad relationships. I do not want my dad to panic. So as soon as he realized we were going to stay together and I met his dad and we get on really, really well. Well, I love all that information, and I think it will really help people who are. I can't tell you how many times I see on Facebook or wherever going, dating's horrible, dating's terrible. It's just, and people get so draggy about dating. Like it's some major chore and disappointment, and it's awful. And when I was dating on the apps, it was, I would open the app and I'd say, there's nice men looking for nice women. And I know that because I'm a nice woman looking for nice man. So I would have all these mantras that I found really helpful for dating. But the number of times I see people who are so negative about the dating process, and as you say, they want it to be too quick, or it's going too slow, or the spark's gone, or all of these things that happen in the relationships. And I really believe that what you're offering is a really fun, but also psychologically worked out way of helping those couples that are struggling.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I really believe, as you were saying, that it's not just for couples who are struggling. I think that, as you were suggesting, anybody, whether they are at
Yeah.
the very beginning of your relationship or you have been together for many years, can actually rediscover yourself and just work on who we want to be with our partners together. And that doesn't need to be with something like what we offer. Honestly, guys, anybody who's listening should just go in and try something different this Friday, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's like a new type of wine, you're going to a different type of place, you're asking the question you never ask, and just to see what happened. And the majority of the times when we try to do something new, even if we're a bit scared of it, we're going to discover that it's like the right decision. So absolutely.
And block out the diary. Like me and Matt go through our diary and go, right, which days do we have together that we can block out and have just for the two of us? And I think that's really important. Whether you've got kids or not, there are babysitters. Go find some babysitters. There's loads of teenagers out there that want to earn some money.
Right.
I've met so many parents who say, "Oh, I've never left my child, and me and my wife have never been on a date since we've had the child, and the child's 5 years old." I'm like, what is
Right.
going on?
Yeah,
You need that connection time.
Yeah. And you have to be intentional about it.
I think it's changing. I like to be positive about that, to be honest. Speaking, I'm at the age that most of my friends are having kids now, right? It's like that crazy age. First is weddings, now it's kids. And it happens to all of us. But it's so interesting because speaking with many of them, I was very surprised to discover that there's two things that each of them has in their mind. Like everybody, both male and female, everybody has this in their mind. The first one is that they want to keep their individuality at some level, right? So it's like, of course, my kid is going to be my first priority. Of course, I'm going to do whatever is necessary. But I understand that balance is also part of what's going to keep me sane and basically allow me to be the best possible parent in the world. But the second thing that I was very happy to listen to is that my relationship is as important as every other part of my life. And that's something I think that traditionally all our cultures have typically abandoned. When you ask typically in any culture, like which priorities do you put, right? Myself, my kids, and our relationship. Relationship is always at the bottom. The kids or myself is typically what goes on the top, depending on whether you're in the West or in the East, but relationships is always on the bottom. And I think that what we're recognizing now is that it's not a pyramid, it's actually a circle. And each of those parts need to work together as a puzzle to ensure that you're going to be happy, but also you're going to give the best possible to your family.
They're not mutually exclusive.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, my dad, I think, really taught me that habit of blocking out time, because he always did that with my mum. And, they've been married for, I think, 54 years, 55 years next
Amazing.
year.
Wow,
Yeah, I know.
that's
It's
so
quite
amazing.
amazing. And he always insisted. My mum would be the one going, "Oh no, but what about the kids?" And my dad was like, "Nope, we're going away for the weekend. They can go to their aunties or the grandmas or wherever." And I think that was a really good foundation for me to have that, that the relationship is just as important as everything else.
Indeed, indeed, indeed. Yeah. And a friend of mine, actually, Arnau and I spoke about this as well, didn't this particular pyramid about how people prioritize. And a friend of mine had told me that was what she was doing. And I always look up to her when it comes to this stuff because she's always very wise. And she said, if our marriage is unhappy or we're not treating each other right, what examples we show our kids? And then also, if we're making each other unhappy, how are we going to be happy for our kids? And how are we going to create a happy environment for our kids? So people don't often think about this holistically. They think about it in boxes, right? And they're separate. But altogether, for you to be a happy unit, you need to be happy together too.
Wellness encompasses not just ourselves, but also our relationships.
Exactly.
And we need to be sure to take care of them.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what's the dream for the next 5 years for 12 Sparks?
Oh, I know. I have you. You're going to tell them the great vision. Go on.
No, like ideally what we want is to help a bit every single couple in the world, right? We want to basically bring awareness of what we were saying, that relationship, every day everybody goes to the gym. Everybody is very well aware of mental well-being, right? And we try to take care of ourselves. But I think that there's still a massive gap until we recognize that we need to take care of our relationships holistically. Romantic ones in particular are the ones that will have the biggest impact in our lives. And we would love to keep growing, to keep developing new experiences, to expand to different, to Europe, then the US. And at some point, look back and realize that we have impacted in a positive way the life of so many people.
Yeah. And I think one of our core missions, and I guess we've done this, is helping people keep and maintain healthy, lasting, loving relationships. So that's our core mission. And we know that if people can do that, the outcome of their life is going to be significantly different than what they ever imagined.
Yeah, so you were saying earlier, Connie, that it's women that largely buy the books and do all the research and stuff.
Right.
So how are you going to get men to take control of this? Because I think there's women out there now who really want their men to take that control and lead the way in it. So how do you think you can do that?
That's a very good question. I don't know that we found the specific answer yet, but I think that what I will say is I think men are as interested in working on their relationships as women. I think that perhaps they don't just spend as much time doing the research and being proactive. But in my experience, they do understand the importance of being in happy relationships, and they themselves want to be in happy relationships. Why wouldn't they? How proactive they are about looking for the information is perhaps the difference between the genders. But one of the things that we're doing is making sure that our boxes factor in the different ways in which men and women think about love and how they engage with their partners, so that the experience is good for both of them. And that's why we have a man and a woman on our team, so that way we cover both. And the idea is that we know that with any kind of product, the way it grows and spreads is by word of mouth and telling people about it. And if men have a great experience with the product, they'll tell their male friends. And if women have a great experience, they'll tell their female friends and other friends, and they'll be the promoter of it. So we're constantly thinking about both people and not just women, because relationships aren't just one person. And I don't subscribe to the idea that men don't want happy relationships either. I think perhaps they just aren't as driven by that. So they don't spend as much time on it, but they definitely want the same thing.
Completely agree. I couldn't disagree more. Like when we were doing some interviews in the very beginning, right? We were speaking with everybody, young people, a bit older, men, women, every single time. And it was so funny because particularly men have been in relationships for more than 10 years, would not ask questions about the type of product or what's in the boxes. The only question after they understood what we were delivering was, where do I buy? Because they see the need for it. They totally want their relationship to be in the best possible way. And while it's true that they might not think about it proactively, once you let them know that this box is going to help you have a fantastic night, but also help your relationship grow in the way you want it to grow, everybody basically is like, sign me in.
Right.
So I completely agree with you, Connie.
Right. So we have one couple, we help men and women.
And actually, there's more than just one man and one woman in this business. There's two men and two women, because you've got a man and a woman behind you both. And we are talking about men and women, but this is about relationships. So it doesn't matter what gender you identify as. It's going to help everybody, regardless of your gender. We talk about male and female, I think, because it's easier, and but all in heterosexual relationships. But that doesn't mean to say that gay relationships have a different dynamic. They often don't, and they can still benefit from those 12 sparks.
Indeed.
Absolutely. We are very careful to always make our boxes gender neutral. We consult, I think, with so many people to be sure that we always deliver experience. And as you were saying, the pillars of a healthy relationship are always the same, independently of the genders or any preference, to be honest, right? Communication, we'll always see that number one. And that's what we will help people keep working on and hopefully enjoying along the way.
Yeah, yeah.
I am very excited to see a box. We will definitely give you some feedback and tell you how we got on with it. But yeah, I'm excited to see it.
Good.
So I promised you that there was going to be a special question towards the end of the podcast, and you get to answer each. So both of you, what one day would you repeat exactly as it was if you were to go back and go, that day was just, I'd do that one?
So I was thinking about mine, and it would be, I went on holiday to the Caribbean for the first time. And my partner, he grew up in the Caribbean, and I'd never been. And it was like, the water's blue, the sand is like, white, and we went on this cruise, and it was really nice, and it was such a lovely day with his parents and the kids, and it was just I had a feeling that I had never had before, and I'm always thinking about chasing that feeling. And it was, I don't know how to describe the feeling, guys. I don't know, but it was, I would love to have that day and that feeling.
I love that.
Again and again, and extend it if possible.
I love that. Oh, I'm so jealous now. That sounds like an amazing day, to be honest.
It is. I remember it a lot, and I think I always say to him, "Oh, we need to really do that again." And he says, "I know, it was the best trip ever." Nice.
I love it. For me, I think it's the moment I first started with my wife. I had been living abroad for 3 months, I think, at the time. We both knew that we like each other a lot, but we didn't know at which point we were in the relationship, how things would evolve, how long distance basically affects anything. And that can be a big, big question. And although I was coming back in the plane, I remember full of expectations and hopes, I was also full of anxiety, right? Like, how is it going to go? And then I just landed, and she was waiting there for me. And it was the most romantic thing I have experienced in the world. And it was such a beautiful day where we realized that both of us were exactly at the same level, looking for the same thing. And it was just such a magical moment, right? And it hasn't changed since. So yeah, I'm going to go with that one.
Oh, I love that. I love them both. I'm very happy, Connie, because when you hear it in the Christmas special, you will hear lots of deep and meaningful ones. And I was like, mine was a holiday day. I'm so pleased you gave me a holiday day. I've had so many over the birth of my child and all sorts of other experiences, but I'm very happy that you had a perfect holiday day like I did.
Nice.
So that's great. What would you like to leave the listeners with? Anything I haven't asked you that you want to get out there into the world?
So we did want to offer the listeners a special discount specifically for Jenny listeners. So if you go to our website 12sparks.com, so that's www.12sparks.com, you put in Jenny as the code, you can have 20% off our boxes. It's exclusive and it's only for 10 days, guys. But we want to do something specifically for Jenny because we're so happy to be here, and we wanted people who listen to you to have an opportunity to try the boxes. And guys, once you make your order, you have any thoughts, qualms, issues, let us know. We are here for you. We want to hear everything. We care about your relationships, and it's kind of our life's work to get this right.
Exactly.
I love that I'm a code. Thank you very much.
Yeah, because they remember your name, and it's a nice way to reward your listeners as well. So we thought it'd be some nice thing to do.
Yeah.
It is. Thank you very much. Well, I'm going to end the podcast as I always end it and wish my listeners a powerful day, whatever having a powerful day means to them. And that might mean working on their relationship and getting those sparks back. And you get 12 months to have a spark tryout. So go and have a really powerful day.
Thank you so much for having us today.
Thank you so much, Jenny.
It's been great. Thank you.
So we received a delivery quite a few weeks ago. And in that time, since then, we've actually got engaged. And this is really relevant to this though, isn't it? I'm so excited. So we did an interview I did the interview actually with an amazing new company called 12 Sparks. And they said they were going to send us one of their dating boxes. And it's a mix of people who are newly dating, people who've been dating for a long time and want to get the spark back. That's where all this 12 Sparks comes from. And it's a subscription box, so you get one every month. And this has been sat waiting to be opened, and I cannot believe I've held on to it. I've been so excited, haven't I?
Yeah, absolutely. But we did want to wait for the perfect moment so that we had actually time to dive into it and really experience it. But let's stop talking and let's get the unboxing.
I've been waiting for so long. I'm like, oh, do I want to open it? It's like Christmas morning when you've been waiting. And it's come in this lovely box. We like these sorts of boxes, don't we?
Yeah, it's a very sort of luxe feel.
Big fan of these boxes.
Really lovely, clean.
So you get one of these every month. And okay, so it says inside, unlock the intimacy journey together.
Ooh.
Oh, and our box is called 5 Senses. So I'm gonna look. This is 5 senses. This is part 1. So ignite your imagination. Welcome to an adventure for the senses, where every touch, scent, and sound is a pathway to deeper pleasure. In this box, you'll find the tools to awaken your most primal instincts and explore your connection like never before. Tonight, there's no holding back. Surrender to the sensations. Let your senses guide you to a place where the pleasure knows no bounds.
Wow, that sounds exciting.
Oh, it does. So what's in it? So
Ooh,
we've got a box. How much should we give away?
Well, I think we should say that there's all sorts of envelopes in here. Open me first, end the night with me, open me last. And it looks like it's split over 2 nights. So
it's got some instructions on the inside of the box. There's instructions, and it tells you what's included. It tells you this is awesome.
This is awesome and very exciting. And for the sake of privacy, I think we should end the video there, and we'll come back to you when we know more.
This podcast is intended for entertainment and information purposes. I hope you get a lot out of the podcast and from listening to it, but please do not use it as a replacement for a professional psychotherapist or GP. If you need some professional help, please go and seek that. Do not use this podcast as an alternative to that. If you need a coach, you know where I am. If you need a coach in a different area of your life that I don't support, then please go and find them. There are many great coaches out there. Make sure that they are accredited coaches with proper training.